Thank you again, and I'd like to thank our awesome liturgical dancers again for that wonderful performance. Monsignor, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this Youth Day celebration. I am so happy to be here with the future of this church and the future of our community, and I'm just feeling a lot of positive vibes and energy from everyone here this afternoon. So thank you again. My grandmother recently passed away, and she said that she would have died a happy woman if one of her grandchildren had become a priest or a doctor. Well, I gave up on pre-med a long time ago, and standing before you this afternoon will probably be the closest that I'll ever get to becoming a priest. So at least I met her halfway. I moved to Baltimore about 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in October, and I've been bouncing around going to different churches. And last summer, my family was visiting on Father's Day. My mom and dad and brother and sister came up from Florida, and they wanted to go to a predominantly African-American church because we don't have them in Orlando. So I brought them to St.Bernardine, and they thoroughly enjoyed it, and they always ask me, when am I going to go back? And I'm happy to tell them that I'm back today and loving it. So thank you again for having me. Now, 6 years ago, I was living in a homeless shelter in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Kansas City. And when I say dangerous, I mean this neighborhood was the 6 o'clock lead every single night for some stabbing, murder, shooting, some kind of crime. Anyway, my first night in the shelter, a drug addict walks in during dinner, and he starts demanding $5. I didn't know what to say or what to do, so I just looked down at my food, and I didn't look at anyone because I didn't want to make eye contact. The drug addict persisted and went on to say, "I'm going to blow this expletive up if I don't get my $5. That's when the man next to me leans over and says, "Welcome to the Shalom House." More on that in a moment. But how I got to that homeless shelter really starts a few months before that. As was mentioned, I graduated from the University of Notre Dame, and during my junior year, I decided that I didn't want to do pre-med anymore. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do instead, so I began praying and reflecting. In the meantime, I figured I'd studied for the law school admissions test because being a lawyer sounded reputable, and I thought it would please my parents. Well, one night while I was studying at the library on campus, I took a break to walk around and clear my head. I noticed a poster reminding us students that the applications for the summer service learning projects were due in about 2 days. Now, Notre Dame does a great job of instilling a sense of social responsibility and social awareness in all of its students. And every year they send out hundreds of student volunteers all over the world to accomplish that mission at these poverty immersion sites. Well, I was reluctant about going to law school for obvious reasons. I'm working as a journalist here in Baltimore. And I figured I could use this summer to clear my head and gain some insight. So I applied to that program and got placed at a Catholic worker house in Kansas City called the Shalom House. Little did I know how much that summer poverty immersion would both challenge and reaffirm my faith. Now, here's some quick background information on the Catholic worker movement. Grounded in a firm belief in the God-given dignity of every human person, the movement is committed to nonviolent, voluntary poverty, and the works of mercy as a way of life. Like many Catholic worker houses, the Shalom House was a place where the homeless, the hungry, and the forsaken were always welcome. I wanted to fully empathize with the homeless community I was serving, so I left my iPod, nice clothes, and other materialistic items at home, but nothing could have prepared me for what I endured the summer of 2006. The house, as I mentioned, was in a dangerous neighborhood. It actually got broken into my last week that we were there, and people were rummaging through. And it makes you stop to think, who would break into a homeless shelter and steal stuff? But it happened to us. It was a modest, unassuming home that was always clean but still smelled damp and old, not to mention all the mice and rats that we caught on a daily basis. The men who lived at the house were homeless for various reasons. Either they had substance abuse problems, fell on hard financial times after a sickness, or they were Spanish speakers from other countries who were just trying to get by. Although we were Catholic volunteers, we never forced our faith or religion on the men of the house. But every morning, the 4 of us volunteers would get up, gather for prayer and the mass readings of the day before serving breakfast to the men. By 8 a.m., they had to be out of the house and looking for work. And while they were gone, I busied myself with chores around the house. I did the dishes, I cleaned their toilets and the showers, and other odd jobs around the house. And I also tutored math and English at a nearby summer enrichment program. When the men came back to the house in the evening, we served them dinner and cleaned up for them and spent time chatting and playing soccer with them. It was during these moments that I really learned about the harsh realities of homelessness in our country. A lot of these guys had been living paycheck to paycheck and fell on hard financial times because of an unforeseen emergency. And a lot of the immigrants were just trying to earn an honest living and send money back to their families in other countries, but they had a hard time finding a place to live. I felt frustrated and powerless. How could this happen? Why would God allow these tragic events to unfold in their lives? And how could I, Sheldon Dutes, even make a dent in this bigger problem? I didn't know what to do, and I felt like I was wasting my time, and I called home several times to complain about the situation at the house. But I was reminded of that passage from Matthew where Jesus said, "When you did it to the least of my brothers, you did it to me." My outlook immediately changed, and I realized that God was living through each of these men. My humbling experience of living with these men and cleaning up after them and being present with them whenever they needed someone to listen was really me doing my Christian duty by not being judgmental and treating everyone as equals and sharing my blessings with everybody around me. It was also my opportunity to see God's face through their gratitude. I'm very private about my faith life, and I very seldom talk about it, but it's moments like my time in Kansas City that I really think that people can see God working in my life. Again, I was only 20 years old, not much older than a lot of the young people gathered here this morning for Mass, and I still had the capacity to live out my faith through serving others. In his book, Doing the Truth in Love, Michael J. Himes says, "Only by participating in self-gift can one come to know who we are trying to designate by the word God. If you want to know who God is, give yourself away." Think about that for a second. If you want to know who God is, give yourself away. Well, a lot of the young people and even some of the older folks in the audience may be wondering how you can do that. I'm not suggesting that you run off and live in an impoverished neighborhood in a dangerous city, but there are plenty of things that you can do right here in your lives starting today. Talking to our young people here, it's the little things like the defending the kids in school who get picked on, or including the girl who's always left out. You can also be a lay minister by not being judgmental and accepting and loving the people around you for who they are, no matter how annoying or different they may be from you. Now, another great way to share your faith with others is to give the gifts that God has given you and share them with others. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed of them. In another part of the book, Michael Himes writes, "When you are at your best, what is it that you truly desire? There the will of God will be discovered." Now, all of the young people in this church are good at something. I think I've got some competition in the future from some potential journalists over here in the crowd from our readers. But you are good at a lot of different things, and whether it's music, sports, cooking, or writing, God has given each of you a gift. Start using those gifts now and sharing them with others, because it's one more way to praise God and show your gratitude for what you've been given. My parents have always told me, my brother and my sister, to whom much is given, much is expected. Even if you don't realize it now, each of you has been born into a loving family with plenty of blessings that have been poured over you. It is your duty in life to share your gratitude with others by sharing your blessings. Even if it's tutoring a family member or cooking a meal for a sick neighbor or helping someone get ahead in life, you all have the ability to make someone's life better by using your blessings. And I want you to notice that nothing in our conversation right now has made any mention of money. Simply, it's time and sharing those gifts. These are all very simple things that you and I can do in our lives that don't cost a penny and will help make our community a better place. As I mentioned earlier, I am sensing a lot of positive energy, not just among the young people, but here among the elders at the church. And I encourage all of the elders to cultivate the energy and all the positivity that's going on here, and make sure that these children and these young people know that they have a place to turn if they should need you guys in the future. So thank you for that. I will continue to pray for all of the young people here at this church, that God continues to guide you and that your teachers and your parents and your family continue to cultivate all of the many blessings that you guys have for the good of our community. Thank you again, Monsignor, for inviting me to come. I didn't want to take too much time. I know people are hungry and the O's are playing, so thank you again for allowing me to be part of this Youth Day celebration. Take care and God bless.